will win will all be explained like instructions to a game. See, I'm not insane. See, in fact, I'm kind of rational. When I'm asking you who was more dramatical, this one or that one, the white one or the black one, pick the pump and I jump up to attack one. KRS-One is just the guy to lead the crew. See, that's an old KRS-One rap called My Philosophy. Maisha, hello. I hope everybody's doing good. I'm really super excited. Let me just begin by saying that I missed you guys. I had to take a couple of weeks off to handle some things, but I'm back. I'm back like I left my car keys. I'm feeling real good. I'm feeling energized. I feel special again. I feel special again. I feel like I got my swagger back. I got my God energy back. I feel really good. I feel rejuvenated. I am now a vegetarian. I actually did a little bit of running the other day. I was in my backyard jogging a little bit. Now I feel spectacular. And I'm putting together some classes. So this live stream that I'm going to be doing tonight is a class that I'm putting together. I'm going to share it here with you guys first, and then I'm going to be putting it out there and promoting it in other places as well. So your donations this evening, for those of you who feel like you're able to make a donation, if you can't make a donation, your donations will go to me promoting that, putting the word out, putting together a marketing plan, all that kind of stuff. Because I really want to start teaching more and just broadening what I do and reaching more people and going into schools again. Um, a lot of times you still can't necessarily just go to a school and teach a class because of COVID. People still have COVID concerns. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of stuff virtually now. So yeah, if we can put our heads together and if you feel like making a donation, I would greatly appreciate it. Peace and blessings to all of you guys, and thank you guys for showing up here tonight. So I'm gonna wait until about the 7 minute mark, like I usually do, and we will begin. In the meantime, in between time, let me just say that I'm happy that you guys are here with me. Thank you for, where I am right now. It's 11:15 at night. I'm not sure where it is where you guys are, but I appreciate you guys spending time with me, whether it's early in the day for you or later in the day for you. Thank you very much for being here, and I think this is gonna be interesting. So we'll begin in a few minutes. Just let me know how you are, Junior. Hello, hello. Durden, Louisiana, 10:15. Or Durdery, Louisiana. Really? I didn't know Louisiana was a different time zone from where I am. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it, Karen. Really appreciate it. How about the rest of you guys? What time is it where you are? What time is it in Idaho? Junior, thank you for the donation. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate your donations, guys. 9:16. Okay. Yeah, Emmy, I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. I had to get some rest and handle some things and just regain some focus. Just regain some focus, which I'm glad I did because I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up. I've been coming up with some new stuff and creating some cool new things. And you guys are always here to support. So I'm sharing the things that I'm creating with you first. I'm actually going to be putting together a class. This is one of the classes I'm putting together. I'm working on another class with a friend of mine who's an amazing hip hop artist, called himself Hydro, and he's a guy who I've known of him for years. We're from the same hometown, Hartford, Connecticut, and he's an artist who's kind of like legendary in my hometown and beyond. And yeah, we're putting together something where we're going to be using music and writing as a form of meditation. So I want to see if I can bring that here. I'm not sure if the way this is set up will facilitate that, but in time, hopefully, we'll see. Me and my brother can possibly do something with that here, which I think would be awesome. but this format might not work. Jackie, I've been missed. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate the sweet words. I really do. All right, we're at the 7-minute mark, so let's get started. So before we begin, let me just ask a quick question. Give me the thumbs up. How many people who are here tonight have dealt with or struggled with some kind or some measure of serious anxiety? And I'm gonna say yes myself for sure. I see some thumbs up coming. All right. Okay. Yeah, I see thumbs up. I see a row of thumbs up. And I've been thinking about I've been thinking about how I can take my own personal experiences with meditation and mindfulness and put it together in a way where I can offer something where people can deal with their deal with their anxiety. And not only that, but also deal with depression as well. Because I think some of these techniques, can work across the gamut of mental health. I think depression, anxiety, all of that stuff kind of like feeds off of each other. They're typically comorbid. Jackie, you're getting better. I'm glad to hear that. And in my experience, over the years, dealing with anxiety, intense anxiety, panic attacks, and all of that stuff, I found mindfulness and meditation to be very helpful. I never really took medications or anything like that, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard me tell this story before about my experiences where I didn't want to take medication, so I turned to meditation instead. And for me, I found that to be very, very useful. And I found my anxiety and depression, even looking back on it, was debilitating. There's a lot of things I was doing in my life where I look back on it now and realize I was dealing with anxiety. I would go places and everywhere I went, I had to be drunk. Everywhere, whether I was by myself or not. And especially if I was in crowds. If I was in a crowd of people, I had to be intoxicated. I look back on it and realize that because I felt so anxious. I felt so anxious, and that really affected me in a lot of ways over the years. Um, and I had to really fight hard to overcome that. So then I thought about the things that I personally had to do because I had to use my own mind and my own body as sort of a, more or less a laboratory. I had to fight my way out of that. I didn't know how to. I used my own mind and body as a laboratory to try to fight it. Yoga, acupuncture, and IT is helping. That's good. That's really good. Yeah, those old spiritual practices were designed to alleviate anxiety and depression. So I really think it's important for us to start bringing all of that stuff into our lives on a daily basis to help us deal with these mental health issues. So you know, as I was saying, I had to use my own mind and my own body as a means of experimenting, trying to figure out the best way, the fastest way to overcome all of this trauma, to overcome all of the anxiety and depression and insecurities that I felt. I didn't know how, but I was determined to figure it out. And then years of meditating, years of experimentation, years of studying spirituality, I kicked depression's, backside and overcame anxiety and feel happier and more at peace. And the battle still continues. I still want to grow in more ways. There's still many things that I want to achieve, but I did achieve my goal of overcoming depression without the use of medication. And so what I did was I compiled a program that I'm going to be offering to you guys. And the program is called the Five Beyonds. And what do I mean by the Five Beyonds? I'm talking about examining ways to get beyond certain obstacles and hurdles on the path to healing. And so the program has 5 parts. I'm going to be offering you guys those 5 parts, putting those 5 parts out there for people who feel like they may need it. And those 5 parts are part one, beyond mind, part two, beyond time, part three, beyond illusion, part four, beyond impulse, and part five is beyond barriers. And we're going to go through each one of those levels and stages and examine exactly what that means and how it helped me to overcome anxiety and depression. And if hopefully you guys find it useful, hopefully you find it beneficial. All right. So we're gonna begin tonight. We're gonna be talking about beyond mind. Now, what am I talking about when I'm saying getting beyond mind? And what exactly is the mind? And I sat today for a little while trying to figure out exactly how I would define mind, right? And I didn't want to just take the easy route and Google it. I didn't want to go to Wikipedia. I didn't want to go to the dictionary. I want to see if I could put it into words, I realized the mind is a very elusive thing to really define because it's not physical, it's non corporeal. It is activity, but it's hard to define something based upon what it does. You want to define it based upon what it is and not just what it does. But ultimately, the mind is thought activity of the brain in which awareness and sensory input take place. The mind is where thought and feeling happen. The mind is, and I refer to the mind as an identity boundary. This is me, and from this me comes thought and behavior patterns. And what I mean when I say it's an identity boundary, what I mean when I say that the mind is an identity boundary is the fact that your mind operates based upon first and foremost creating an identity, an idea of who you are. I am this, and we develop our entire identity, and quite often we develop our identity based upon our culture, our upbringing, our personal experiences, and our trauma. So we develop this sense of who we are first and foremost, and then from that sense of who we are, all of your thoughts and behavior patterns come forth. So it's like your mind is this boundary of who you think you are and all the stuff within that. So quite often, if you're an individual like I was, who built a whole identity around trauma, your identity becomes defined by your trauma and by your pain. And so all your thoughts and all your activity, all your mind activity is based upon that trauma and that pain. Your identity, your thoughts of who you are, it's going to create the thought patterns that you're going to experience in your own mind. So all of these thought patterns, everything that's in your mind is based upon who you think you are. So your identity, mind, thought activity, all of that is the same. All of that is connected. All of that is interconnected and interdependent, right? So what we want to do is we want to try to figure out some kind of a way to get beyond mind. What does it mean to get beyond mind? Well, first and foremost, we have to examine who we are or who we think we are. It's very important for us to get beyond mind. Why is it important for us to get to beyond mind? Because your mind creates your reality. Your mind creates your reality. So if your mind, like the Buddha said, the mind is the maker of all things, and everything is created in the mind. So once your mind tells you that something is real, you're going to experience it as if it's real. If your mind says that this depression is something you can't beat, then you're going to experience that as if that thought is real. If your mind tells you that anxiety is something you can't beat, you're going to experience that as if that's real. If your mind tells you that you're in love, what's going to happen? Your body is going to, the reality of your body is going to change. Your neurochemicals, your physiology, all of that is going to change based upon the thought of love, the thought of hate, the thought of fear. All of that creates physical changes in the body. So the mind and the body are connected. So if you want to change the responses of the body, you have to change the mind. And that's difficult. That's hard. And ultimately, what you have to do is you have to get beyond mind, because the mind is a tool. The mind is a tool that can actually change the brain and change the body. How many people have we seen who get tired of being out of shape and make up their mind to start working out and get in shape, to look better, to feel better? Peace, my brothers. How y'all doing? You wanna go beyond. You want to make up your mind so that you can create those positive changes within yourself. So you have to go beyond the standards and the boundaries of your mind so you can establish a new self and reach higher levels of achievement and achieve your goals of becoming a better, happier person. And keep in mind, if you're a person who has anxiety and depression, what are those? Those are mental illnesses. And that's another reason why you have to go beyond mind. You have to go beyond mind because with a mental illness, your mind will distort your reality. The mind is the maker of all things. Everything is created in the mind. Your mind can distort reality. If you're a person who goes through anxiety, you know for a fact your mind can distort reality. You know that you can have a moment where you feel like the world hates you. I remember when I was young and going through anxiety, I would smoke weed and walk into rooms and feel like everybody was plotting to kill me. Feel like everybody hated me. Nobody was paying me no mind, but my mind was distorting reality. Yeah, exactly. Your mind distorts reality. So in order for you to create a new reality, you have to go beyond mind, which means going beyond your identity, who you think you are, because that is interconnected and interdependent in the definition of mind. And not only does depression and anxiety distort your reality, but it intensifies your thinking, Your negative thinking is intensified by anxiety. I think something's wrong. If you have anxiety, that's intensified. I don't like myself. If you have depression, it's intensified. It becomes so powerful. It becomes crippling. It creates a reality and you feel like you can't escape. How does it create a reality you feel like you can't escape? Because, like I said, your body and your mind are connected. They're interconnected. There's something that I call sensory entrapment. What is sensory entrapment? Well, every time you think a thought, your body creates a sensory, a sensation that goes along with the thought. You think about somebody you're physically attracted to, your body responds with a series of sensations. You think about something that's scary. When you watch a scary movie, what happens? You start jumping, moving around. I remember I used to play video games, and I would see other people play video games, and they'd be like doing, you know what I'm saying? Their mind was creating a sensory response in their body that made them feel like that video game was becoming real. And it's the same thing with your depression. Your depression makes you think these horrible things are real, even when it happened in the past and they're not happening right now. Even things in the future that never took place, you think it's real because your body is creating a sensation that goes along with it. So what happens? You get anxious about something. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles get tense. Your breathing changes. Your body temperature changes. You start to have a cold sweat, right? Or you start to get hot. You feel embarrassed. Your body is deceiving you into thinking this nonsense is real. The body keeps the score. I gotta get that book because I keep hearing about that book. I'm gonna get it. I know somebody who got it. I'm gonna ask him, can I borrow it from them? But I'm gonna check it out. But yeah, and you're 100% right. The body is keeping the score. So every time you think a thought, your body has a response to that thought, and that's what makes you feel like what's in your mind is real. And that's what makes it feel inescapable. And that's what makes it feel as if your anxiety and your depression are tangible presences in the room around you. How many times have you walked into a room, right? And your depression felt like it was a bully hanging over your shoulder. Your depression felt like it was right there, like it was breathing down the back of your neck. Or if you have a happy moment and then you start getting a little anxiety, and you start getting a little bit of anxiety, and then you feel like the anxiety is right here. You feel like it's a physical, tangible presence in the room around you because of the physical sensations going through your body at that moment. You got to beat that, and you can beat that. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't overcome depression and anxiety. If you could take a tumor out of somebody's brain and they survive that, then you could change how you think to overcome depression and anxiety. Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Junior. Yeah, it feels like a cloud following you. That's a perfect way to put it. It feels like this dark energy is just. I used to feel it like it was just like it was something sitting on me. In the old medieval days, they believed that spirits would sit on you when you were depressed, and they would, like an incubus or a succubus would just be sucking the life out of you. That's how you feel. You feel like it's something on you or in you. So that presence is like a bully. How do you fight that bully? You got to become stronger to fight the bully. But what are you going to strengthen to fight a intangible, psychological, emotional, neurochemical, biochemical bully? How do you stop a bully like that? How do you stop a bully that lives in your own head? And that's what we're talking about now. The steps to going beyond mind. And when we talk about going beyond mind, you know, one thing we have to do is develop metacognition. We have to become metacognitive. What is metacognitive? Metacognition is when you become aware of your thinking. You have to train yourself to become aware of what you're thinking and actually learn how to watch what you're thinking almost as if from a distance. Learn how to observe and become more aware of what's going on within you. Because quite often there's no space. And when I say there's no space, this is what I mean. I mean, you have the thought, right? There's a thought. And right here, connected to the thought, is the physical response to the thought. And then there's a reaction. Thought, change in the body, reaction. Thought, change in the body, reaction. 1, 2, 3, no space in between them. You have to create the space in between those stages in order to become more aware of what you're thinking so you can control the physical response of the thought and then eventually control your behavior. I used to act so erratic when I was younger. I used to act so erratic because there was no space. I would think a thought that made me anxious or made me feel uncomfortable. Immediately, my body would start to feel different. I would feel nauseous. I'd get nervous. My hands would start sweating, and then boom, it's time to act crazy. Time to take a bunch of shots and embarrass myself. Time to get really, really high and sit in the corner and brood because I'm scared to talk to people because I'm anxious, but I can't tell anybody that. I'm glad you're here, Yolanda. I'm real glad you're here. This is our campfire. We all sit together and try to support each other. Glad you're here. So yeah, so because there's no space in between one, two, and three, that means that as soon as I think a thought, that thought is immediately or almost immediately connected to negative behavior. So we have to develop metacognition, awareness of our thought, so that we can become in control of our physical responses to the thought and in control of the behavior. I'm depressed. I'm gonna have a drink. Time for me to drive home. Car accident. I'm depressed. Time for me to get a little bit high, make a fool of myself in public, go home and feel guilty about it. It's all one, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three, four. We need space. How do we develop that space? First of all, mindfulness. Mindfulness practices are very important. When I was going through anxiety and I wanted to overcome my panic attacks, the first thing I did was I started to engage in mindfulness meditation. I engaged in mindfulness meditation. Every day I would sit down and I would say my mantra, which was simply, I am in the present moment. I would figure out ways to immerse myself in the present moment to calm my mind down. Because when you get depressed, you're going to be constantly thinking about what happened in the past, feeling guilty and embarrassed over it, getting depressed over that. All the times you messed up, all the times things didn't go according to plan, all the times you felt lonely and unwanted, undesirable, right? Or you're thinking about the future, how these good things seem like they're always out of reach and you won't achieve them and you won't win, you won't get the goal, you won't get the girl, you won't get the job, you won't get the money. Things that haven't even happened. You're stressed out over things that haven't even happened yet. But when you learn how to train your mind to be in the present moment, just here, as I was talking about one of my other live streams, I was talking about the name of God. I am. I am that I am. If you could just learn to be, I am. That's it. If you could just learn to be and just be in the present moment, that will open your mind to a whole new level of consciousness, and you'll realize that you've gone beyond mind. When you go beyond mind, you go beyond time. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about later on in the series. When you learn how to immerse yourself in the present moment, you go beyond time, and that allows you to go beyond mind. So mindfulness is very important because mindfulness takes a tremendous amount of focus and control. The human mind is designed for anxiety almost. One could say the human mind is designed for anxiety. Anxiety helped us to survive before we had big cities and control over nature. We were living out in the wild, and our anxiety kept us jumpy. And being jumpy helped us to survive, but it don't serve us any good now. That anxiety don't serve us any good now. It just destroys us. It eats away at us physically. It causes health conditions and health problems and high blood pressure and deterioration of your immune system and your kidneys and all of that. Even your brain deteriorates and starts to rot away with depression. You start forgetting stuff. You're forgetful. Yeah, it's crazy. You get brain fog from depression, all of that. But we have to use mindfulness as a means of going beyond the mind and opening that door to higher levels of consciousness. And by being mindful, you become more metacognitive. And being metacognitive means that you become the observer. They talk about the observer when they talk about meditation. What does that mean? That means that you can actually sit back and just watch reality happen without any kind of emotional reaction to it. There's been times where I've literally been stressed out or angry or hurt. And then I go into a state beyond mind. And I can literally stand back and look at my thoughts. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty pissed off today. I'm pretty mad today. And I can sit back and watch it like watching a TV show. And that allows me to feel calm within because my consciousness has expanded. I'm going beyond mind. So there's a space now. Before, when you're in the midst of the hectic energy of the mind thinks a thought, the body has a reaction that leads to behavior. But when you can sit back and watch your thoughts without an emotional reaction, you go beyond mind, you see these thoughts happening, and guess what? There's no physical reaction in the body. And if there's no physical reaction in the body, you don't feel pressed to behave in a certain way. You could think a thought, you could have an experience, pull yourself out of the reality and watch the reality be from a state beyond mind, and all of a sudden you don't feel caught up in the anger. You can observe the anger like a cloud passing in the sky. And when a cloud is passing in the sky, what do? Nothing. You let it pass. You see a cloud slowly drifting above. You don't get, oh my God, there's a cloud. I gotta stop the cloud. You're not thinking that. It's a cloud. Let it come and go. Your emotions are clouds. Let them come and go. But it's hard to do that when you're stuck in that cycle of responding to the physical reaction. Because you're not necessarily responding to the thought. The thought don't mean anything. It's the physical reaction that makes you feel like you have to act. When you're alone with somebody you find attractive, you feel like you gotta act because you're having a physical response that demands some kind of attention, some kind of expression. Same thing with your depression. Sad to say. And I've been there. You get depressed, your depression makes you physically feel something. So you feel like I have to take action. And typically the action is something self-destructive or something that will exacerbate the depression. But you're just trying to ease that, physical reaction to that negative thought or that negative feeling of depression, which leads to unhealthy behaviors or avoidance. Same thing with anxiety. Thank you, Balin. Appreciate that. Another way that we can go beyond mind is meditation. Now, what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Mindfulness is putting yourself in a state of mind where you're in the present moment. You immerse yourself in the present moment. Meditation is using a particular technique to help the mind to focus on one thing so that you can calm the mind and open up doors to higher levels of consciousness and go beyond mind. Thank you for the donation, Yolanda. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go beyond mind. And meditation, say for instance, I want to meditate on this. I lit a candle right here. Imagine if I want to just meditate on the light of the candle, how it moves, focusing my mind on one thing. And if I focus my mind on this one thing that's here with me, that will allow me to go beyond mind. Saying a mantra or an affirmation, using a visualization technique when I meditate. That's actually creating mental activity. Meditation is creating mental activity using certain techniques to go beyond mind. And meditation is something I've done. I love meditating. I love it. Mindfulness is amazing as well. Just being in the present moment is amazing as well. That really helps to quiet the mind. But meditation techniques like visualization, intense visualization, intense chanting, that's awesome to me. I love those experiences, especially those collective experiences, because you actually feel like you're physically, like for instance, there's a guy named Sadhguru who does a meditation. I think it was called Isha Kriya, and I happened to find it on YouTube one day. So I'm doing that meditation, and there's a part where everybody says, "Om," but as I'm saying it, the vibration of the Om made it so that I felt like I disappeared, and I became the sound. And all of us saying it made it so that we vibrated in a way we all were vibrating simultaneously, and we all became one. I felt like I was gone for a moment, and that helped me to go beyond mind. And also, last but not least, and this one I want you guys to, I'm going to choose my words carefully with this one. Another way to go beyond mind is what I refer to as controlled trauma. What is controlled trauma? That sounds crazy. That sounds hurtful. That sounds dangerous. No, it's not at all. What we're talking about is what people in Hinduism refer to as a sadhana. What's a sadhana? Sadhana is an intense technique to help you to go beyond mind. If you see a monk who's standing on one foot for a whole day so that he can clear his mind and meditate, that's a sadhana. That's a form of shocking the body and shocking the mind. Because after a while, standing on one foot, your leg will start to cramp, you start to get tired. But if you hold on and go beyond that moment of pain and you don't give in, then you'll allow yourself to go beyond mind. Or, if you have a candle in your hand, you hold your arm out like this, holding a candle for a little while, and just chant while you hold the candle. After a while, your arm will get tired. After a while, your jaw might get tired from saying the chant over and over and over again. That's happened to me during meditation. I've said affirmations so long, my jaw started to get tired. But if you continue with that, it shocks the body and you go beyond mind. And that's what we want to do. Figure healthy ways to shock the body so you can go beyond mind. Fasting, that's a form of controlled trauma. I've done, unfortunately, I haven't done long fast. I've heard of people doing 60-day fast. I'm not doing it. I'll be damned if I do a 60-day fast. My husky self will pass out. But I've done a 2 or 3 day fast. And it's an amazing way to shock the body. And at first it's not that bad. Then as it goes on, you start to get a little bit hungry, but it's not that bad. And then it gets to the point where you really start to have to focus on continuing to not eat, because then your body is sending out those signals: gotta eat, gotta eat, gotta eat. And then everything becomes about food. And everywhere you go, you're smelling food, you want the food, and then you get past that, and then what happens? You go beyond mind. Because you have to spend every minute out of the day observing your behavior and your desires and controlling it. And eventually you go beyond mind. You find your conditioning, yeah, and that's what you do. You go beyond mind. And when you go beyond mind using, this technique of quote unquote controlled trauma, it shocks the body and you become more aware. When I was fasting, I became more aware of how addicted I was to food and salt and fried food and how much I ate in my car, how much I ate on the go. Yeah, and you know what? And that's something important. I'm glad you said that, Jackie. Having compassion for yourself. Having compassion for yourself could also be a wonderful tool to help you go beyond mind. Because when we have those negative thoughts and we have the negative reaction, and we feel the guilt and the anger and the disappointment in ourselves. But once you learn to accept yourself and be compassionate, that's another tool for going beyond mind. Acceptance. I accept myself. I don't have to beat myself up. I don't have to look down on myself. I don't have to be angry at myself. I can accept it and then move on. And that will allow you to gain control over your thought and your physical reaction to the thought and your behavior, and you get a chance to go beyond mind. That's a very important tool. That's a very important tool. I'm glad you brought that up. Self-compassion and self-love is a very important tool for going into a state where you could sit back and watch yourself without an immediate negative reaction, negative response. Metacognition is the name of the game. Metacognition is the name of the game. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are aware of what we are thinking. And so when you meditate, you sit and you meditate and you make yourself more aware of what you're thinking, that will allow you. Once you are aware of what you're thinking, and then aware that you're aware, all of a sudden you realize you're already displaced from the thought. You're displaced from the thought. The thought is way over there, and you're way over here just watching it, and you're allowing yourself to let it go because you realize that the thought doesn't have to manifest itself into reality. Quite often when you're going through depression and you got that tendency to distort reality, all your thoughts will spill out into reality because you can't control them. And you can't control them because you think it's so real, you think it's so important. And it's calming. It's very, very, very calming when you can sit back and become the observer, which is a key principle. It's a key principle of many meditation schools. Exactly, Lynn. You remove from the bodily indulgences and the judgments that surround them. Exactly. Exactly. And I want everybody to realize as well that there's so little about reality that we know. There's a school of thought in Buddhism called Yogacara. Yogacara basically teaches what they call consciousness only, which means essentially we'll never know what reality is. We only know what our consciousness projects onto reality. So when you're looking at the outside world, you're only looking at your consciousness. When you're looking at the outside world, you're only projecting what you have within you onto the world around you. And if you're depressed or going through anxiety, that's magnified. But once you realize that many of the things that you're worried about and concerned about are not real, you don't have to put so much stock into this false illusory reality that's around you. And not only that, this is something else that I want you guys to realize. How much of your thoughts are really yours anyway? One day I was meditating and just observing my thoughts, just watching my thoughts, watching them drift by. And I realized at that particular time I had been watching a lot of TV. So a lot of the thoughts buzzing around in my head was commercials, it was jokes from sitcoms, it was all kinds of stuff just floating around in it. It didn't make no sense. I'm like, what is all this? It's not even my thoughts. And if you're traumatized by somebody who neglected you or hurt you or said mean things to you, those thoughts are not your thoughts. I'm not good enough. Where'd that come from? I don't like myself. I'm fat. I'm ugly. Where did these thoughts come from? Quite often it's somebody else who put their thoughts in your head, like that movie Inception. Somebody else put the thought into your consciousness and made you think this is yours. They made you think this is your thought. And you running around with this thought that's not even yours. You running around with the McDonald's theme song in your head, thinking this is your thought. I'm going to tell you all up front, we are all a reflection of our culture and our upbringing and our experiences and our trauma. And there's very few, and let's be honest, very few people in human history have ever had an original thought. Thank you for the donation, Lynn. Literal programming, exactly. So don't get so caught up in what your brain is doing with these thoughts. Your brain is a thought-generating machine, and it develops thoughts based upon sensory input. So if you're watching TV or staring at your cell phone and all this other stuff, you got thoughts being generated. They're not your thoughts. That's why I think reading is so important, because reading actually stimulates the mind in a way where you start to think for yourself more as you read more. Yeah. Unplugging from social media, turning the phone off is very important when you're dealing with anxiety and depression. All those thoughts are somebody else's thoughts. And most people go around thinking that they've developed a personality. Most people you meet have not developed a sense of self yet. There's individuals out there who 40, 50 years old, they only believe what they've been told. They only know what they see on Facebook. There's people out there who actually just talk in memes. They see memes on social, it's go around just talking in memes all day. Or they just recite jokes that they heard from other people all day. Or they just use phrases from reality TV shows all day. I remember when I was younger, I was talking to a young lady. She was like, YOLO. YOLO? What is YOLO? What does that mean? You only live once. And there's nothing wrong with using popular slang and popular terminology, but I'm like, she was just talking in slang, just using these phrases and these words from songs, the whole conversation. YOLO and some other word, bucket something. I don't know, whatever she was saying. But all these words and all these terms that she got from songs, from everything else, they were not her. She didn't know who she was. She had become just a program running amok. So a lot of these thoughts that you're letting yourself get concerned and afraid by, they're not yours. You're scared that somebody won't like you. Where'd that thought come from? Where'd it come from? Your junior reality TV is horrible. But where do these thoughts come from? Reverse engineer your thoughts and your thought experiences. Look back on them. Where'd they come from? Where'd they come from? Who told me I wasn't good enough? Because it wasn't me. I didn't reach that conclusion. I didn't come to the conclusion I wasn't good enough. I believed it, but I didn't reach the conclusion. Where'd it come from? That's very important. In order to go beyond mind, you got to start looking at your thoughts. Looking at your thoughts almost like looking at somebody you're meeting for the first time. When you meet somebody for the first time, that's one of the first things you ask them. What's your name? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Ask your thoughts these questions. You got a negative thought in your mind, ask yourself, where you come from? How the hell you get here? I'm trying to clean up. Imagine you cleaning up your apartment and you turn around and somebody in your living room eating a bowl of cereal. You're like, where the hell you come from? Same thing with many of your thoughts. Many of your thoughts are not yours. If you strip away all the thoughts that pop into your head that you have not proven through scientific research, just strip all of that away. You won't have a lot of thoughts left. A lot of what I believe was stuff that I just people just told me. It's true. Read this book. It's true. This is what you should think. It's true. Then once I started getting rid of everything that I couldn't prove, and everything that I didn't research, I was down to a bare minimum of thoughts. That's why I don't get riled up. I realize how much I actually know is not that much. So I don't get riled up over nothing. People be like, "Oh my God, Joe Biden, Donald Trump." Like, I'm not getting riled up over that. I'm not getting riled up over your narrative. And it's the same thing in your personal life. Don't get riled up over this narrative. You gotta reverse engineer these thoughts and ask yourself, where the hell did these thoughts come from? Who the hell told you you ain't good enough? Who the hell told you that you're not a beautiful soul? Who told you you can't do what you want to do? Who told you you can't? Who told you you can't start your own business or lose weight or get healthy or travel? Not we didn't think of this stuff on our own. Why would you? Why would you? Why would you sit around drawing these kinds of conclusions about yourself? These are the result of trauma, and usually the result of somebody else programming you, and how you're raised is a program as well. And if you have somebody in your family that's always doubting you, always tearing you down, always mocking you, humiliating you, that's a form of programming too. Sib Anonymous, how are you? You're out on a date with yourself? Yeah, I definitely advocate that. I definitely advocate that. I definitely advocate taking yourself on a date from time to time, having a conversation. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. So yeah, reverse engineer your thoughts. You have a negative thought, take a moment and just ask yourself, where the hell did you come from? What was the source of what changed me? It was a combination of things. One of the things that changed me, and I always tell you guys, I'm not religious at all, but I do believe in synchronicity and I do believe in God. And one day I came across a book called The Religions of Man by Houston Smith. And that was a book that dealt with the major world religions: Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. And that's when I first really started to learn about meditation. Um, and so I started trying meditation. At the time, I was so depressed and so antsy and so anxious, I couldn't sit still. But then years later, when I hit 30, I started having intense panic attacks. And I said to myself, if it's like that movie, A Beautiful Mind, with Russell Crowe, where he's playing a man who's suffering from schizophrenia, and they have him on all these medications, but he doesn't like the side effect of the medications. So he says to his doctor, the issue is in my mind, so I'm going to use my mind to solve the problem. And that's what I did. Because I was in the hospital after a serious panic attack. I thought I was going to die. The doctor came into the room, didn't say much to me at all, didn't explain anything. He came in and said, here, take this pill and call me in the morning. Basically just gave me the pill. I took the pill. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I threw it away and I said, okay, I'm going to use my mind to fix the problem now. And so that book, The Religions of Man, teaching me about meditation. I think I found that book when I was 25, 24. Then years later, finally sitting down and having the opportunity to use what I learned in that book to overcome my panic attacks. And then I saw the benefits of that. And I never had another panic attack again. Milan, Sadhguru. Yeah, I love Sadhguru. And you know what else too? I'm a music addict. I'm a music addict, and people talk about Sadhguru and how brilliant he is and how amazing he is, and he really is. But nobody ever talks about his music because he actually really has a really beautiful singing voice. He has a song called Kapara Gauram, which I think means pure as camphor or something like that. And yeah, somebody, I guess one of his students or maybe a fan, took him singing it and then looped it for like 3 hours. It is beautiful. You love the one character? Which character? Chant. Oh, okay, yeah. Capo the Galra, Vegeta, na, na, na. I love that song. I can listen to that song forever. Oh, it's your alarm when you wake up? I should use that as my alarm. Yeah, that's another tough thing is helping taking the information that we have that we got, some of us got it a little bit late in life, and then giving it to our kids early in life. And I teach my kids how to meditate. I try to encourage them to use like affirmations and things of that nature. Hopefully me planting these seeds is going to benefit them in the future. But yeah, all the stuff that we learned late, let's give it to our kids early and make the world a better place, and create safe spaces for them to use what they've learned. You're in Mumbai, India. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us from Mumbai. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know they had Inside Timer over there. That's a blessing. Peace and blessings. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, late bloomer. Yeah, that's one of those phrases that I don't like, but I have to acknowledge the fact that yeah, it applies to me. I am a late bloomer. I am a late bloomer. But yeah, so let's wrap it up for tonight. Um, I really dig this conversation. And I'm gonna come back next week with part two of the series, The Five Beyonds. And like I said, next week we're gonna be talking about Beyond Time. We'll talk about Beyond Time. This week was Beyond Mind. Next week will be Beyond Time. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for the donations. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. And if you feel that you benefited from this, then just I really appreciate it. If you felt like you got something out of it, peace and blessings to all of you. I'm glad I was able to bring something of value to you guys. All right, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for the donations. Peace and blessings to you all.